name is Nathaniel Holmes. I'm a former employee at Tenderloin Housing Clinic. I was employed there from 1999, May of 1999, until November the 6th, 2008. We brought the union in 2006. At that time, I was a program receptionist, and I was elected the shop steward for the housing department. I first got involved with the union by going out and asking co-workers, getting them to do this card signing. You know, after I was approached by union representatives from SEIU, and that was my first little organizing campaign. You know, we started going from house to house and visiting with co-workers, getting them to sign cards for the card check. We got the union in around September, October of 2006. We held elections around November. I was elected to be the shop steward in the housing department, and we other members was elected to their own little areas where they would be represented in the different departments. After that, it was an uphill battle because the whole culture there had been what management says, and really workers didn't have a voice. But this union, when SEIU come in, we were somewhat impressed, thinking that we would have this platform to address our issues in the workplace. Little did we know that that wouldn't be the case after just a few months of them coming in. I met Josie Mooney during our organizing campaign. Josie Mooney was very, well, she caught me as being a person that was going to be very helpful and influential for us. Josie Mooney. I liked her. You know, she was very a fiery person, and I never will forget. She gave me a phone number and told me that, Nathaniel, if I ever had any problems, to let her know. And when problems surfaced for Nathaniel, Josie, I call you and call you. Left messages. I think I even emailed you, Josie. Never did hear back from you. You know, I don't know if this was after you were left SEIU, if you were gone, or if I know you went to the teacher's place for a minute, but you know, I was somewhat misled, Josie. You know, because you came on like you were a bona fide person, you was for us and this and that, but when I really needed you, you know. And when Martina and I went before the group and said, y'all had us saying the little card check thing, you and what was that, Gilda? You remember Gilda? Gilda and the other lady. And you know, just left me standing in the cold. You know, I did my part. You know. Went out, got people to come in, you know, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay, because Nathaniel will be okay. Me and my family, we will be okay. Because I liked Ms. Mooney when she came in and she did what she did to help us. I know when you come in and you do stuff to help people out, but I accepted her as being a true blue. You know, I accepted her as being a person I wanted to be in the foxhole with. You know, a person that really had some allegiance and loyalty about them. But it turns out that, you know, you give a person your phone number and you tell them to call me if you ever need me. You know, and then when you call and when you email, nothing. And if you're not going to be a true blue, quit playing with it. Quit playing with it, because people's lives are at stake. It's a learning experience, but it's something that leaves a bitter taste in your mouth for a long time about people, and it don't have to be like this. You don't have to be faking about nothing. See, you can't be playing with people's lives like you're doing just for you and your own little posse to benefit. Randy Shaw was the executive director at Tenderloin Housing Clinic. That had been operating there for 20 plus years as executive director over the housing clinic, serving the Tenderloin and other areas throughout San Francisco with housing. And managed something like about, at that time, 7 or 8 hotels. It started out as a modified payment program. But then in 1999, they signed this contract with the city and county of San Francisco to bring in hotels to start housing persons that was receiving GA benefits and SSI payments.
And how much money was he getting from the city?
I can't really say. I don't know exactly how much he was getting from the start, but I know as of just a couple of years ago, it had reached something like 80-some-odd million. You know, for the hotels. So
you then, why don't you talk about what happened when you tried to get the union after you got in to start to, exert the power of the union and that.
Okay, well, my first encounter was with a grievance. We had ongoing grievances, but one of the major grievances that we had when we got was with management way of dealing with workers that we thought that qualified for jobs, and they just completely overlooked them. And this was a racial matter. I filed a grievance for a co-worker, Ramses Tion Nichols. In fact, he's a union worker now. He's over the organizing.
Of what local?
Of local SEIU 1021. So Ramses Tion Nichols.
The head organizer.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
he's the organizing director.
Organizing director. Okay. All right. Well, he was having problems with. Ramses qualified for this position as well as other workers in the housing department, but Ramses was one that really wanted to move up, and he was bilingual, and we dealt with a bilingual population, and that was the clients. So he thought that he qualified for it, and after going through a few conversations with management of complaining about them, complaining to them about the way that they were treating the people of color, the workers that are in the housing department, they decided to give it a try. The human resources director did give him an opportunity to put in his request, his application, and I think she even went over one day. But that was the beginning for me. I think that was the first time that I really complained to management in a way like that, especially about racial discrimination. And that was when I would say that the retaliation started with me, because it first started with me. They wanted to transfer me out of the department that I was in. That's how it first started. Not only did they want to, they did it because after complaining about the way that they were doing things, the person that they hired, when she came in to work, she eventually got me removed by saying that I was creating a hostile work environment. So that led them to remove me from the housing department against the wishes of not only myself, but I went to my union. And the union, my union rep, Darcelon Paris, he didn't put up too much of a fight for it, because he said that Randy was going to do what he wanted to do, and that's just the way it was. He told me basically, the whole thing was bogus. I went to a hearing a few months after then, where they was investigating me for creating a hostile work environment. And the evidence was never presented. In fact, my Mr. Lamparis went in my hearing, went into the mediation hearing, and didn't even bring the findings. You know, so that left me at you know, just to, you know, I'm having to work. I need to work and support my family. So by him not doing that, I just I did sign off on a little settlement to continue working, but in a different department. But it was against, I really didn't want to do that, you know. But I had no choice because the union wasn't backing me. And that was the beginning of me seeing just how the way this union thing was going to work. It was going to be them having sweetheart deals with management.
And did they do this with other grievances?
With other grievances, it was just like they were sweeping them under the carpet. And it got to a point to where after they got me out of the housing department, they no longer wanted me to be the shop steward. But I continued to work as the shop steward, and several months later, after being transferred into a different department, the housing workers did select me to continue to be the shop steward until an election would be held in the year 2009. I was transferred in 2008, and at the end of 2008, another election for shop steward in that department would be held. But they selected me, and the union was notified of this, also the NLRB, Mr. Shaw, and my supervisor. They was all notified of this, about the union, about the workers in the housing department selected me to continue to be that shop steward, meaning that I would continue to file grievances for them.
They didn't like the fact that you were actually, you know, making the contract work?
No, absolutely no. No, they did not. It looked good for I guess Tenderloin Housing Clinic to have a union, you know, but a lot of the workers there were naive. So was I as to the ongoings of the unions and everything. You know, we was at their mercy somewhat, I would say, you know. But nevertheless, the training we got from the union was very minimal. You know, it was more or less like just, you know, they were just a show and tell thing. You know.
When were you fired, and what happened with the firing? I
was fired in November 6, 2008, and it was for complaining about stuff in the workplace, issues in the workplace, grievances.
So it was union activity?
It was union activity. I was filing grievances for co-workers. They were transferring workers, like they transferred me. They transferred the other union rep, a lady, Venetia Rogers. They transferred her just by putting her on a transfer list. She didn't ask for the transfer, but they transferred her. And Venetia didn't really know, you know, so she just went along with it. And then when she found out that this wasn't the way, well, we filed a grievance because she really didn't want to be transferred to a different department. She was working in the housing department, but after Venetia started filing grievances herself for workers and not withdrawing grievances, they got upset with her, so they transferred her into a different department. You know, made a desk clerk out of her.
So after you were fired, what happened?
After I was fired, which I started protesting. You know, I went to my union.
What did they say?
The union at first was very reluctant. They didn't even, you know, in fact, my union rep, then I had to go and get a shop steward that was working with me to help me to file the grievance.
So they didn't even want to file it?
The union didn't even want to file a grievance. In fact, my union rep, right when I was fired, he was transferred to a different area, you know. So my union rep at the time was Alexandra Goldman. She filed the grievance for me. We went in to our first hearing, which was where they were supposed to have been giving me the information as to why I was being fired, you know. But the reason I was fired was because we had union members had circulated a letter about Mr. Shaw's totally just ignoring grievances, transferring workers, and at the same time he was promoting a book about Cesar Chavez. So we went over to speak to Local 87. He was going to be, he had email workers about him promoting this book at Local 87. The email mentioned about, and he was inviting everyone to come out. This was workers, you know. So union members discussed this in our meeting. Some of the persons that I guess felt allegiance to him didn't want to do it, but most of the union members wanted to pursue it because we was trying to improve our conditions in the workplace. So we went and we spoke to Olga Miranda, I think, at Local 87, and Olga mentioned that if we could show her a letter where other union members, how they thought about Mr. Shaw. She just didn't want to hear it from 2 or 3 members, but where other members thought about what they thought about Mr. Shaw, she would present this letter in, even because we was reaching out to her for her assistance. You know, it was more or less kind of like a concerted effort on our part to get mutual aid from our sister union. So she mentioned that she would bring this up to him if we would just show her or give her a letter or a petition with a list of things that we was concerned about. So that happened. And we did that. We got the letter. We circulated the letter, myself and other union members. Alysabeth Alexander was one of the persons that was on there. She was our cope worker, you know. She signed, as well as 50 other persons. We had about 52 members that signed this letter, that's helped circulate it. However, I was the only one that was singled out for discipline and was fired.
Now, after you were fired, what did Randy Shaw, Human Resources Director, say about the other workers discussing with you?
Oh, at that time, but this was before I was even fired, when they started the investigation about, when I was filing the grievance. I had a little situation to come up when I went over to file this grievance for one of my co-workers. First, we ran into one of our union persons on the front desk. When I went over to present the grievance, as we normally would do, he told me that, well, Nate, we have a different way that we're doing this now. And that was a surprise to me because we hadn't received any memo about we were going to do grievances another way. So he wanted me to see the Human Resources person. So I said, okay, you know, may I see her? So she wasn't in, and he asked me to come back in about 10-15 minutes. So I did. 15 minutes later, I went over to see her, and when I spoke to her, her name was Janie Lara. Janie mentioned to me that Darcelyn Parris had told her that if she would sign the grievance that we would bring over, it was like they was admitting guilt. And I said, Janie, this is the first time I ever heard anything like that, you know. And she told me, well, this is what Doss told me, and she wasn't signing any grievance. So I said, okay. And then I found out later that Darcelyn Parris was coming over that same day within the next hour to have a meeting with her. So I decided that I would wait since she wouldn't take the grievance from me. So when Doss come in, I asked Darcelyn Parris about the grievance and I told him about what Janie had mentioned to me, and he said, no, I hadn't told Janie no such thing. So I was asking him, I said, well, look, I need to get back to work, you know, so could you please come and help me to get this grievance signed so I could get back to my duty. So he told me that he would. And it was taking him a few minutes to go about doing this. So I asked him, said, "Doss, would you please?" And so he left from talking to me and went over and started talking to another gentleman, Kenneth Degman, the union rep that worked there. And so they went over to themselves and was over laughing and looking back at me. And I just referred to it. I said, "You know what, man?" I said, "You know those actions that you all are doing?" I said, "To me," I said, "it's very racist. You know," I said, "and I really don't appreciate it." And I left, you know. So the next thing I know is that they're so upset that I've told them that their feelings are so hurt that I referred to that action as being racist. It was something that they never had done. We all union brothers, and I'm trying to file a grievance and get the grievance filed and go back to my work site, and here they are over there. It's funny to them because I guess maybe they may know more than what I know know about it. So I went on and I left. Went back to my work site. Next thing I know, we had our union meeting that night. And it was kind of heated, you know, because it was still upset because of how they all blamed me for upsetting them.
Who blamed them?
Kenneth Degman for one, and him and Doss was had got to be pretty close friends, I would say. And so it was like Nate Holmes had done something just real bad. A couple of days, I went into work. Next thing I know, about 30 minutes of being in the work, here comes the HR director, along with James Holland, who was one of the property supervisor, come in, and Janie gave me a letter saying that I was to have no contact with any workers, that I was going on administrative leave, and if I would contact any workers or have anything to say to them, further discipline would come down. So I left the work site. You know, they escorted me off the work site, and they wanted to set up an investigation. They wanted a statement from me. So I told them that, okay. I said I would come with my attorney because I didn't trust Dawson and Paris or the union doing anything for me. So I would come with my attorney. So this was okay because she sent me an email saying that whatever representation I want to use, I can use it. So I contacted an attorney. His name was Gregory Haynes. And Mr. Haynes told me that he would help me out on it. So, but it would be the following week. They wanted me there the next day. So I went the next day, but I went in and I told them that I didn't want to make any kind of statements until I had legal representation with me. So they continued to try to force me into doing this. I said no. I said this is how I want to do it. I took 2 shop stewards with me that day just to go along with me to witness stuff. Alexandra Goldman, and the other lady was can't recall the name, man. Sabrina. Yeah, but I had representation. But so this led to them putting me out of the workplace, and I never did. I went in the following week, and the attorney wasn't able to come in that day. So I went in and I told Randy that he wouldn't be able to come in. So I took another co-worker with me. The co-worker and I had our meeting, and I called my attorney on the phone, and he spoke to Mr. Shaw in the presence of us, scheduling a meeting for, I think it was for the 3rd or the 4th of November, something like that, where Mr. Shaw said he would come in and he would get the statement with my attorneys present. So that following day, we did come in, my attorney and we went to 126 Hyde Street in the lobby, waiting for Mr. Shaw to come out. And Mr. Shaw came out, looked at us, went straight upstairs, and then he came back and said that, we don't need to have no investigation. So he don't need that now. 2 days later, I received termination papers. This was without the investigation being completed with my statement. So
you just refused to even have an investigation?
Well, But he had his own little investigation, but he never did get a statement from me with my attorney present. He just stopped it abruptly.
What did your attorney say about this memo that they put out that you couldn't talk with?
Well, the attorney mentioned that it was illegal, you know, that it was unfair labor practice, you know. But so we had our battle with that. I went to the NLRB on that. I filed agreements on that about the way what they was doing on that. And at the time, the NLRB took down information, and they said that they had an investigation, but they never did. They never did interview the people that I had gave them the names. I gave them a list of names. I spoke up about racial conditions at Tenderloin Housing Clinic. You know, it was just Jim Crow again, slapped, you know, put to you. Then we had these other pretenders, I'll call them, that came in that was going to bring about change. And one of those persons was Roxanne Sanchez, who started to work after I was fired at Tenderloin Housing. And Roxanne knew about my case starting back from 2007. She knew about it because we talked over the phone. You know, we conversed over it. She would give me little pointers about what to do and about how things was going to get better and what she was going to come. She was, I think at the time, she was working from BART. She had information as to what my situation was about. You know,
she said she was going to support you.
Oh, absolutely. You know, in words only. So I found out later on that after she started working there, when Roxanne even come by one day when I was having a protest outside of 126 Hyde Street, and she took another route. Instead of coming over and supporting, she took another route. But that was up to her.
She had to be working at that job in order to run in the election, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Election.
Yeah.
How do you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, you know, I know very little about that because she was hired after I was fired. You know, but I would meet her at union meetings when we would go over for union meetings, and she knew about I had an ongoing case. So,
but she had to be working in an SEIU affiliate.
Right, absolutely. In order to run, right. So, you know, I really don't know how that happened with her and Mr. Shaw, how he got her in and she got elected like that. I couldn't really speak on that.
But then didn't Randy Shaw put out an article?
Oh yeah, right. After they were elected, her and Alysabeth Alexander, you know, after they was elected. Excuse me?
What was she elected to?
She was elected president. Yeah, she was elected president. And Alysabeth Alexander was the political education person for them. You know, she beat out this other person, James Bryant. You know, who had got into a little hot water over there. But it was just, you know, a bunch of people that I found out later on that was just pretenders. They were, you know, not true blue union reps. So they had the power, you know, but they didn't want to really do anything with it or didn't know. I think what it is a lack of their understanding what's really going on inside with the workers in the workplace and really addressing matters in the workplace. You know, they're so concerned about what's going on at City Hall until they dumbfounded as to how to really represent a person. They're really representing themselves, and workers thinking that they have someone there because they come on with the rhetoric about what they're going to do for union members, and it's sickening. It's so disheartening for people like them, along with Mr. Bradshaw, who has come here to my house telling me he was going to help me if that was the last thing he would do. And he came over here 1 or 2 times and only to tell me that Randy Shaw really don't like you. He got it in for you and he don't want you back, you know. So I was just, you know, I really didn't expect too much from them anyway. You know, because you know how you could feel people, and my natural gut feeling toward him and toward Roxanne, toward Alysabeth Alexander. You know, after them telling me, especially Alysabeth Alexander, she had first-hand information that she came. I didn't ask her for this. She had some racist comments that had come out of Randy Shaw's mouth, and that if I needed her to come to my trial, or for her to make a statement, she would do this. I called Alysabeth up, only for her not to answer my call, and then when she finally did answer it, she told me that she would get back to me. Never did get back to me. I told her we had a few days to get the statements in, never did. So, you know, what are you to expect when you really need a person, and a person, you know, you break bread with them, you invite them into your home, and then they still playing games with your life? You know, just be upfront with them. Let them know that I'm not going to do it. You know, just be upfront. You know, you don't have to come with that fake stuff, but you find out that these people, it's just like the old South, Steve. It's just, you know, with people where they had Jim Crow, you know. Now, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in politics. Like I said, just you know, they just treat folks, especially people of color. I guess they just think that they can just do us any kind of way, and it's disheartening because these are the people that that elect you to do the people's work, and you're failing. But yet and still you go on and you be on all these national programs. I've listened to it the other day on Democracy Now!, talking about some stuff they're doing in Oakland, but they can't do for people in the workplace. You know, they can't make really a difference there. You know, because of.
Well, they actually, you know, Randy Shaw's a big supporter of Willie Brown. Or now he was Newsom, and now Ed Lee. He's written articles about Ed Lee's doing great things for San Francisco.
Right. You know,
I mean, he's getting like millions.
It's just the same. You know, it's the same with San Francisco with their Jim Crow policies. A world-class city, and just as racist as all get out. You know, continue to use the little Jim Crow policies, like I'm saying.
Now, I mean, when Randy Shaw hired Roxanne, and you know, he knew that, you know, he had a grievance with SEIU 1021, and that maybe by hiring her, you know, he was securing that they wouldn't do anything. Do you think
it could be, because he would be in a position to just sit on a grievance.
You expected the union to file a grievance and fight for you? And
absolutely. I was in good standings when union dues paid. You know, they was taking it out of my check. You know, I hadn't done any wrong. Everything was all about union activity.
You were being discharged because of your union activity.
Absolutely, right.
Filing grievance.
Absolutely.
Wanting to enforce the contract.
Right. The executive board, 2 letters asking them, pleading with them for their intervention.
Did they ever invite you onto the executive?
Never.
Speak to the executive board?
Never. I've asked them, only one person, Ramses Tion Nichols, and this is what this is secondhand information. I was informed that he really went before the board and spoke up for me. Other than that.
And now Alysabeth and Roxanne, who both were from the TL.
Right. Alysabeth Alexander, you have another lady over there that works at San Francisco General, Emma Jarrell. Emma Jarrell was familiar with what was going on with me at Tenderloin Housing Clinic. Fred Zimmer, yeah. You know, so, and she was my union rep.
Now, what do you think about the idea of union reps being appointed and not really coming from the rank and file?
I think they should be elected from the rank and file. You know, I think they really should come from there, you know. But I don't know, Steve. It's just so it's so difficult to say, you know, because people are so funny nowadays until they all seem to be about trying to just get the fame and the glory, and not about really truly representing the people in the workplace. See, that's where it all starts. You know, they get so concerned about international issues, what's going on in other countries and other places, instead of what's going on locally. I'm concerned about what's happening locally and really making a difference locally. You know,
well, and you can't defend your people rank and file.
Right.
How are you going to defend anybody?
Right. Absolutely right. You know, so it's just right. Yeah. You know, it's just the wrong thing. Like I say, it's just, you know, you got to just get rid of the pretenders.
And you know, you were tried to get, you know, a grievance. You tried to get them to pursue this, and now you hear that Roxanne is running for president, and Alysabeth is running for political director or something, some other position, and Ramsey is going to be the organizing director.
Yeah.
Of SEIU 1021. I mean, it seems like
really, I can't.
So many people from the
Tenderloin Housing, yeah. You know, it's funny thing. You know, it's just you know, I can't say anything about Ramsey because he came to one of the protests that we set off. But as far as Alysabeth Alexander and Roxanne Sanchez, those persons, you know, I have Larry Bradshaw, you know, I have no faith in them. You know, I think that they should just step down just out of a personal dignity just for themselves and their own families, because, you know, it's a shame that they're in positions like they are and not being true fighters. You know, they're grandstanders. That's what they are. You know, they like to grandstand. They like to go to the museum and make pictures and sit out in the middle of the streets and do like they protest and throw the fist up and do like like they're doing something big. But they're grandstanders and pretenders. And this is coming straight from the heart from me, Nate Holmes, because I know your works. I know their works. Didn't do nothing for me, not only me, did not do anything for a lot of the co-workers down there that I was familiar with.
And what happened after you left? They bullied other people out?
They just got them out of the way. Most of the people that signed the petition that we had sent to Local 87, most of them are gone now.
So they retaliated.
Right. They just got them out of the way one way or the other. You know.
So Randy Shaw actually organized a witch hunt there.
Well, you know, I don't want
basically to get rid of people who were challenging him.
It would seem like that, you know. But like I say, you know, my matter is still in the courts right now. You know, I'm still, you know, so I don't want to say too much about him and what he's doing. My fight with him is in the 9th Circuit right now, and
but you've had to pursue that by yourself.
Yes, I had to pursue it by myself.
Where was the union on?
Well, the union was watching me. You know, they were there, right there, watching me, and probably hoping that I would fail, wouldn't succeed. But I'm happy that I did it this way. I'm happy that it's still ongoing, and I know that I think that we'll be successful. You know, if we just make it to trial, and that's what we're trying. That's what we think that we have enough evidence to show that I was singled out, that I was retaliated against. You know, and it's all because of me complaining. You know, they've tried to assassinate my character and say that I was doing this and doing that. But my job performance, you know, I wasn't, you know, they didn't even take me through the discipline that's in the contract. You know, you have steps that you go through. You know, if something that's egregious, you know, it should be addressed. You know, I didn't cause any violence. I didn't pull out a gun to try to shoot anyone. You know, I was only trying to complain about what was going on in the workplace. No one was investigating anything, but just trying to just shut it down and say that I was the problem. So after, I mean, you got kicked out of there, then it must have been very intimidating for people. Well, I'm quite sure it was. You know, it was like that's the culture there. You know, they try to come on in a way to keep you in a position to where you don't want to complain, where you don't want to say anything about what's going on in the workplace. And they have no at that time, they had no system of you addressing matters. You know, it was just you address it, you're out the door.
Now, I mean, Randy Shaw has a blog.
Yeah.
The Other Chron, and he's
beyond right.
Didn't he write an article congratulating the election of
Roxanne, Alysabeth, and Larry and them? Yeah.
What did he say?
He mentioned, I can't recall, but he said something about how it starts from the bottom up. You know, but you know, maybe so if you're white. You know, and if you're bright, but not so for other persons of color, you know, and that seemed to be a problem. They seem to like to get people of color that's going to be yes people, you know, and that's not really have no concern about what's going on with the coworker or what's really happening in the workplace, you know.
So they want yes men.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They want yes men, and like I say, and it's so sad that you have young white folks that come into places like this and still have that old Jim Crow type of attitude, you know, where you can't trust them. You know, it's disheartening, you know. But whatever will be, will be. And if a person, I think, if the union not doing it, you may have to just go and do it yourself. You just have to be a fighter.
And they tried to buy you off even. They offered you a management position.
Well, yeah, they offered me a management position. But like I said, I didn't want the management position because of the fact that we had a union, and I'm from the old school thinking that we have a platform now to address our issues and we'll be protected and we won't be having to deal with these other little matters where people that's not enlightened to the point of where they want to make things better. They want to continue to put all types of label on themselves as being progressive, and you know, but each year we feel that they get progressively worse, you know, than better. So, you know, it's just a game that we should just stop playing. You know, we've come too far as a society, and in San Francisco, a world-class city like this, to be so stuck in the dark ages as to wanting so-called power or want to be known as this, you know, your legacy would be known by the people in that community. And these people that's around here doing all of these things, they may be getting a little praise and being in front of the cameras now, but we know, you know, we know your history. We know what you're doing. We're not going to be silent. And I would encourage anyone that's going through it not to be silent, because that's the only way that we're going to make progress, you know. And San Francisco seems to be a place where you just listen to one or two little so-called prominent persons or political heads, you know, everything is just coming from them, you know. And it's sad, but be a fighter.